So my refugee journey started in '06 when we first arrived to Australia. I came with my immediate family, mum, dad and my younger sibling. A couple of months in, it kind of hit home, like we're in Australia. It's a new life, new opportunity. And then obviously not having the English was kind of challenging. It was a bit like annoying because you would always have like little fights with your cousins and stuff like that. Oh, that's not how you pronounce it, blah, blah, blah. So that always motivated me to get better because they would laugh at me, but like, okay, cool, no worries, I'll say it better this way, stuff like that. So when we left in Sudan, it was still one country, and South Sudan became two countries in 2011, I believe. Long battle of civil war in terms of taking over land, possession, stuff like that, trying to have that control over the people. All my family, we lived in different areas of the country, so you would hear like, hey, your auntie, this happened, your uncle, this happened, so I would always constantly hear about it. It's always sad news, when people call up, hey, that guy passed away, this, blah, blah, blah. So I really didn't have that family bonding that I wanted, like with my kind of uncles or my aunties or my grandparents. This kind of breaks down the family structure in terms of like having that, stability, constantly moving, because before coming to Australia, we had to move to Egypt. We had to go to Egypt, go through the process, getting the paperwork, getting the visa. It took 2 years. I feel like we were really lucky in that sense because I have some people that I know that have been in Egypt for about 14, 15 years. I feel like I'm a hybrid. I'm a bit of Aussie hybrid and then African hybrid, so I'm in the middle because I can relate to the Aussie life, but I still know my roots and where I come from. You are a new asylum or refugee, finding the right people in your life or the right services in your life is very key, because that will determine how you see Australia moving forward.
Hello, my name is Salwa Sharaba. I am my country Syria. I have 4 children. I am married. I came to Australia before about 4 years ago. Back in the past, I used to be a high school physics and chemistry teacher for more than 25 years. I didn't know how to get by in Australia and felt like I had no future. When my English language became little bit better, I joined some other Australian societies, swimming, food safety, barista course, first aid, a small business class, and a women's health course. Lovely Australia, lovely Melbourne, lovely people, lovely anybody. Thank you all. Thank you all. Salwa Sharaba.
My name is Muhammad Sharaba. I am Syrian citizen. I escaped from fire and hatred, looking for peace, safety and calmness. A. Accuracy and acknowledgement in their strategies. U. Universal and united community. S. Spiritually inclusive society. T. Tolerance and traditional behaviors. R. Responsibilities and refugee sympathy. A. Appreciation asylum seeker. L. Liberty and leadership management. I. Independent and industrial technology. A. Aboriginal respectful activities. This is Australia. If you are in Rome, do what Romans do. All of them have different tragedy, painful, horrible story. Thank you for you all.
Well, I used to work like a TV radio presenter in a big company. And then I got the problem from government and I stopped work with that and started to my new business. And then one stage in 2017 this war is very rush time and very close to an end. On 2007 and 8, this killed lots of Tamil young people and stuff. And then they hijacked me and told my family, I advised to my family I was died. They held up in the prison like over 2 years and tortured me because I denied to help to the government to find the work against Tamil liberation. And then, yeah, finally I just managed to got out from the prison through my lawyer, and then I escaped to here. I came by boat in 2012, and then I was held up in detention centers or offshore processing center Nauru like nearly 3 years. And then 2015 I got out from Nauru, and then I was held up again in MITA, Melbourne Detention Center, 7 months. And then 2016 I got out from MITA and I got a bridging visa to living in the community. I got out from detention center. I just keep traveling cross country and sharing my experience, and I published my book. It's called From Hell to Hell, and then made some documentaries and giving good ideas about the asylum seekers and refugees, what they're facing at the moment in Australia. It's a big refugee crisis against human rights. We are not a captain cooks, came here to steal this land or take someone's job. So we're just asylum seekers. You are my neighbors and you are my friends, and hold our hands. We can make it great Australia.
I'm originally from South Sudan, but I was born in a refugee camp, well, not in a refugee camp, but on our way to a refugee camp. So at the time my mother was pregnant with me when she made that journey to Ethiopia, and then from Ethiopia we went to Kenya, and then spent about 10 years before we were given a humanitarian visa to come to Australia in 2001. Living in a refugee camp, as a child, I never really got to experience like the struggles that my parents went through, and most children didn't. So you just wake up in the morning, you go off and play, but then you come back home, you find food on the table, you don't really know how it got there, but it's just there anyway. So, but the older I got and speaking to my mother and things like that, I finally realized the struggles that they went through, and being able to even just find clean water, or even just clothes to put on your back. Just the really, really simple things. We lived in very inhumane conditions, where we had no access to electricity or even Medicare. I think we only had one main hospital, which was about 4 hours away from where we lived, and to get there, you don't have no vehicles, you don't have a car, you don't have a bike, so pretty much if somebody was sick, it's just like people have to carry the person to the hospital. And by the time you get to the hospital, there was no proper doctors anyway, so it's just like... So my parents, when we arrived at the refugee camp, they applied for refugee status, and then we had to go through the process. They had to determine whether we were genuine refugees, and then after that, through our application, and then pretty much I think we applied for 3 different countries: Australia, the UK, and the US. And then we got picked for Australia because we already had family that had already come, so they sponsored us. And then we just waited. Proud of being the first person in my family to actually finish high school, because my parents never really got the chance to finish their education. So I ended up finishing high school and then going off to uni, and so I think that's one of like the proudest moment. And then now it's like the kids are following, and just being able to be given that opportunity to access like proper education and things like that. So at the moment I'm currently studying my master's in human rights law. So, and then I'm interested in like the refugee sector, and as part of my profession right now, I'm a registered migration agent. So basically I assist people with visa applications, work a lot with people seeking asylum, and volunteer my time with people seeking asylum. So basically just giving back to the community and in that sector as well, being somebody from that background as well.
Parents came here after the Vietnam War due to the political regime. They were struggling really badly back at home with business because everything was taken away from them. It really strikes me that they got here and they went through the same conditions that those on Manus and Nauru went through. They fled the shores of South Vietnam and they were taken to a Malaysian island called Bedong Island, and that's where they stayed for 2 years before they were accepted to go onto a plane to Australia. I can see how hard it was for them to be on that island. I understand that, you get rations of food every day and there's nowhere to sleep, and it makes me realise how hard it is for those who are going through it today, those who are on Manus and Nauru, and the conditions that they're in. So I really sympathise with that. They really found it difficult to leave home because that's what they knew. But when they did get to Australia, they were very happy, and I would say that was their happiest moment when they felt at peace finally to be in Australia. Australia did welcome my grandfather and my mum and aunties and uncles very well in terms of when I grew up, our neighbours were very friendly to us. Even though my mother was very limited in speaking English, they still welcomed us into their home, helped my mum speak English and kind of taught her. So it's a really good community that we lived in. From my upbringing, I was inspired by my grandfather to appreciate education because he knew the power of education. He always pushed me. So today I study law because I believe in fairness, justice and equality. So yeah.